Now, on Sunday, Tom Brady had this interesting blow-up on the sideline that caught a lot of attention on social media. We're going to check it out.
He was open. You know what? I know he was open. I know it. I'm just Tom. I just.
Yeah. Now, the Patriots won this game 23-3, and Tom Brady was going off on offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels. And a fan on social media brought up an interesting point and said, it's passion. Imagine if Odell Beckham Jr. showed some of this passion towards any of his coaches. Shaking my head, hashtag double standard.
No.
I think he has a point on that one, and Odell expanded on that point, saying that there is somewhat of a double standard where certain players get a pass for their antics on the sideline. Let Odell, Des Bryant do the same thing. It's a much
Adrian Peterson.
It's a much bigger spectacle. But Mia, you seem to be on the other side and disagree with this fan's point.
I just think Odell Beckham's a whiny bitch.
Why do you think he's that? I think he has a good point.
No, I don't.
How does he not have a good point? How do you know?
Because we're not like Adrian Peterson blew up on his coach, on his head coach on the sideline.
And there was still, and he got.
People called it passion.
But he got traded.
He got what he wanted. He wanted to get traded.
There's several players that blow up on the sideline, and people misconstrue it as being immature, being self-centered.
Part of the game.
Well, it depends.
That is called passion.
What your record is.
Exactly.
You know, when you're winning, it's passion. If you're losing, it's a distraction. Even though both sides of this group are passionate about winning and wanting to win and being the best, if you're losing, you're a distraction, you're immature. If you're winning, it's passion. Look at the fire in his eyes. He wants to get better. So when you're saying he's yelling at his coach and the score, you know, they won 23-3, it's passion. He just wants to be the best. But on the, you know, it's that double-edged sword. Like, you can only act like that if you're winning.
I want to agree with that, but I feel like far too often there's TV cameras on players that they feel like are divisive. They'll just watch them on the sideline. Any type of loud conversation, they misconstrue and say there just must be against the coaches.
That's what I'm saying. Usually when, you know, stuff like this happens is because, like a grunt, interception, you didn't do something right, you know, you're losing, you know, the frustration builds and you outburst. He's winning and there's still an outburst. Okay. You know, that's what I'm saying. Winning solves everything, which is stupid.
But last year the Giants were much better. Odell Beckham Jr. had an outburst on the sideline. People still called him whiny. I mean, you just called him a whiny bitch.
But was he whiny when they were losing?
Always. He's
like
always
if he scored a touchdown and came on and cussed the coach out for whatever, you don't know what they're talking about. You know, you don't look at it the same. Like, you only look at it the same because when it's going wrong, that's when you see, you know, the TOs complaining and stuff, and that's when it becomes whiny.
Yeah.
The double standard aspect, I completely get where Odell's coming from. I don't necessarily completely buy into it because, listen, Tom Brady has his resume that's, you know, pretty much impeachable, like 5 Super Bowls, 4 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 league MVPs. But at the same time, you know, when you're constantly cussing out your offensive coordinator, it looks really bad. Optics look really, really bad. But you get a pass because you're considered the GOAT. You have this awesome resume.
If it was anyone other than OBJ, I wouldn't have that stance.
So this is.
I just think he's a whiny bitch in general. That's why.
But that's not fair. That's not fair. That's a double standard. That's a complete double standard.
Yeah, Odell. Some of his distractions on the sideline, which we've talked about in the past, like, you know, the kicking the net last year, proposing to the net, the pissing in the end zone incident, the boat incident, stuff like that, has caused actual distractions for the team. Like, that has been that's been on him, and that's been a thing that the Giants have had to deal with extensively during his time in New York.
But think about the two arguments from these players. You know, you're talking about a receiver who's mostly going to argue about the plays that's being called and the quarterback not actually looking at them. That's what he's going to be claiming about. The quarterback is going to be complaining about the calls because that coordinator's not reading the right, you know, the right plays. So that's where his argument is going to be. It's going to be about the whole.
But it comes from a passion, which is great to have. I mean, both guys are really passionate about this and fired up, obviously. But, you know, at the same time, some of the stuff Odell does gets them penalized.
But here's the thing: is we always say with the Patriots, it's passion, it's enthusiasm. Yeah. So when Gronk elbows a person in the back of the head, they'll just say that's passion, that's frustration.
That's
frustration.
Right? No, that was just a cheap shot.
But there's this narrative, right? There's this narrative that gets built. Antonio Brown earlier this year threw a water cooler. Nobody's talking about passion.
No one talked about that.
Nobody, but they're not saying, oh, that's passion. That's just him.
But he
they
doesn't
call it immaturity.
the way OBJ does.
It's all with winning, fellas.
But see, Tom Brady has a pattern of doing this. He cussed out Bill O'Brien the same way, I believe, in 2011 in the game against the Washington Redskins.
No, he has. He's been doing this for a long time.
But it's still.
But that's what I said. It's your quarterback. So your quarterback is like your point guard. You're telling him the plays. He's looking at it. These plays are not working. Switch the shit up.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where his argument is coming from. It's not he's throwing a touchdown and he's coming up and arguing. Hey, the plays does not work, our receivers not open. Call something different.
Listen, coaches always talk about distractions, okay? Now, Tom Brady has been a distraction like what, maybe one time in his entire NFL
Shoot,
career?
like 6 years ago. 6 years ago.
All right, was it Spygate, Deflategate, whatever more Deflategate, but like OBJ again, the distractions have been a little bit more.
But what's the distractions? What's the distractions?
The net stuff that
the net
talked
stuff.
about
Okay,
was a talking point for an entire week.
But Tom Brady has allegedly been.
Wait. He hit the net hit him back?
Yeah, that's not a distraction. That's just you got played, you look stupid.
But then he proposed
protocol level.
the next week, and that was like an ongoing thing that occurred. But the pissing in the end zone incident this season. And then last year, him going on the boat with Victor and the other guys, that was a huge talking point leading up to their loss to the Packers in the playoffs.
But let's look at Brady over the years. After the Super Bowl, his wife says that he has suffered numerous concussions.
Yeah.
That's investigated by the NFL, becomes this big thing. He had Deflategate, which resulted in him being suspended 4 games. If you want to compare distractions between Tom Brady and Odell Beckham Jr., Tom Brady has much more distractions, but we give him a pass.
He has much more Super Bowls
yeah,
as well. Yeah,
but
from a league
he has
perspective,
way more
from a league
rings.
perspective, I agree with you 100% because the whole Deflategate situation that dragged out for 2 years was ridiculous and just onerous and just unnecessary.
And also, we have to get out of this culture where rings give you a pass. Because
They
sometimes
do.
I've always said that.
But at a certain point, you cross that line.